covered most of the things in the previous chat on details of game. Just going through all the videos previously. So, so I think we spoke about this risk analysis trade-off, where we talk about the food example, and then we are checking this food, right? So food and what we had, and how the food restaurant grows from small vendors, extra vendors, other vendors, to other part of the state, other part of the countries. There's a roadmap. It's part of the risk analysis. We start with the risk analysis. We talk about the trade-offs. We'll quickly start with the trade-offs, right? The trade-off is basically, want to call in English, it's called compromise. Right? So you have to compromise. Let's say you have an exam next day morning, tomorrow morning. Now you have a cricket match or any sports event. So what do? The sports event is important to you. So you look at the sports. But if your exam is important, you will not watch the TV, but you look at the television, you keep preparing for your exam. If you're already prepared for exam, you'll keep looking at the sports. So whatever you want, that's a trade-off. What is more important to you? You want to go to a movie before the exam, or you want to watch cricket match, or you want to do a hobby, or you want to study, right? So you know what is the impact. Everything will have an equal and opposite reaction, right? You study well, actually you should not study for the one day before the exam. That's what I would typically tell people, including my kids. That's what I was told by parents. You should prepare upfront for any event, not just the exam. Don't keep it in the last minute. Like we say, hitting a sixer, the last ball in cricket, right? Why do you want to keep till the 19.5 overs? Why don't you finish at 18.5 overs? Sometimes it comes there, some unplanned events, but that's okay. But you don't plan for that. That's what I'm trying to say. You know your exam is coming. This is what you're getting. Unless you fell sick, any unplanned thing happened. So you should have your plan. You should work on what you should study, how you should understand the concept, how do you apply the concept. You should start preparing for that, right? So that's how you prepare and you should do it. Okay. So that is called a trade-offs. So yeah, if you keep the last minute, let's say I want to prepare for tomorrow's exam tonight, or today from 6 p.m. till 5 p.m. I've done that. When I was doing my master's in IIT Kanpur, I've done that. I'll be at 9 a.m. I'll be studying till 5 a.m. I'll stay for 2 hours, get up at 7 a.m., get ready and have breakfast and go at 9 a.m. write the exam. I've done that for some exams. So what is the risk? If you fall asleep during the exam, because you didn't sleep the previous night, so forget, or you may fall asleep in the exam, that's one thing. Or what if you wanted to study for the last 12 hours for the exam? What if you fell sick, you get a fever just like that? Or there's a family emergency or something, right? Then you will not be able to prepare. So you should prepare upfront, do proper time management. Yeah, we'll talk about the time management very, very soon, maybe next week. So we'll talk about one of the soft skill and we'll start talking about that. Risk analysis and trade-off. So that's about the trade-offs. Okay? So you understand what is a trade-off. So we'll see what is a stakeholder. Stakeholder is something. Let's say you're doing a class, this class. Who are the various stakeholders in this class? So me as a coach, you have immediate volunteers and mentors. So they are a stakeholder, and students, your stakeholders, right? So that's what the stakeholder management is. These are various stakeholders what we have for this particular class. For your daily life, the stakeholders are your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, your friends, right? Your TV, your mobile phone, because you play with them. So they are also stakeholders. So for example, in real life, in a company, the stakeholders will the strategy. This is a strategy phase, remember, right? About how do you plan the product development? That's a strategy phase, right? So there's some strategy. Go to the plan. We're going to see one by one, right? So we'll look at the plan in detail today. So for the strategy phase, you still go to the product marketing team, the upper management. The product marketing team is basically who interfaces with the customers. They come with what is the product spec, right? They come with a document called product development, PRD, product development or product requirement document. It's called PRD, product requirement document. All of you have written the product specification, right? This is a requirement. So there is a requirement and specification. There are differences. If you don't know, please let me know. I'll try and explain. So there's a difference between requirement and specification, right? So that's extremely important to understand that.
right? So product marketing team prepares the product requirement document based on the customer requirement, right? And they have to document that in detail. And your other stakeholders are upper management, for senior vice president and above, right? They have to approve. So typically, it will be different various product committees will be there. So typically, what is pre-product committee meeting number pre-1. There are, let's say, first meeting, second meeting. After second meeting, they will approve, right? Let's not about it. Meeting number 1, meeting number 2. So what typically they will do is pre-meeting 1. They will call pre-meeting 1. So before you call the senior VPs, other stakeholders, they will decide. Then review that, take feedback, they update the document, keep it ready. Because you don't want to be wasting your senior VP's time, right? So then they'll call all the senior VPs, the people from the finance, people from the sales, people from the marketing, people from engineering, people from the foundry fabrication side, the CEO of the company, everyone will be there. All the top business leaders will be there at that meeting. Your HR will be there, and everyone will be there, right? So include the product marketing, everyone will be there, right? So they will discuss that. And so they'll do a pre-meeting, they'll do a meeting 1. Then they'll finalize some kind of product spec, right? So meeting 2, what happens, we'll see the next slide. When we go further, we'll see the planning phase. This is the meeting number 2. Okay. So that's upper management of your senior directors, vice president, senior vice president, CEO, CTO, and all right. That's upper management. Okay. And deliverables, I told the product reference document or a product requirement document. That is a deliverable of the strategy phase. We just spoke about it a minute before, called PRD. Please write it down. PRD means product requirement document or product reference document. So that'll be the output of the phase 1 strategy phase. Okay, let's go. So what is the planning phase? So in this phase, the product requirement specification is frozen. We all have seen what a requirement specification, right? I told requirement and specification are different, right? We spoke about a specification requirement for a electronic product, and all of you are presented there fantastically, right? So all of you did a good job, right? So that will be frozen the beginning of the phase 2. Right? That's what we said about product PRD is frozen. Right? That's very similar to the document. Then from there, you take the product requirement document, start developing engineering spec. And you have to develop that and freeze it. Right? You review that. So that's based on product requirement document. So subset of the product requirement specification, what we saw in the previous slide. Right? Based on that, you give an engineering spec. That is going to input to the execution phase. You will see that soon. So then you make a detailed execution plan. So what are the various tasks? That's what work breakdown. That's what we call work breakdown. So WBS is the, you look at project management, they call a term called WBS, right? They call it as WBS, right? With the milestones and their corresponding definition, alignments, and engineering ownership, everything is defined, right? So make something, it's called project plan. So you have something called Microsoft Project Plan. There are various tools available, or you can simply take Excel sheet. This is on all the tasks, how much time the task will take, and who is the ownership. So that's what we do. You ask your volunteers. You have made a four-week plan. So the volunteers will show that to you the classroom on Saturday. What is the 4-week plan and how that is going to go? So they will explain to you and they will put it in the classroom. Right? So we have a 4-week plan in place. But basically it says what are the next 4 weeks, what are the dates, and what is it? It's like a timetable. What do you have in your class? No, you have a academic calendar. So the colleges, right? For next 4 months. So these are classes. They'll not teach you what they'll teach in the period. Right? They'll give us these are the classes, these are the things, these are the exam schedule. But we will put what are the classes. We said we'll teach in half-an-hour slots. So what are the various things what we'll do? So that we'll publish it for next 1 month. We'll give it to you. Every month we'll plan it ahead. Okay. So that is called project planning. So any event you conduct, say you want to conduct a birthday or a marriage or whatever event, how do you do planning? You list down all the events, what you have, and how much time it will take. What is the predecessor? What is the successor? If something is complete, then we can start the next event. So that's called a predecessor in the project management terms. Unless that task is complete, you cannot start the next task. Something the 2 tasks can happen in parallel, right? So for example, right? So you want to first you should have an invite list of, let's say you're doing an event, birthday party, you should have a list of people to invite. So you should have an invite list, right? Then you print the invitation card or you make an online card or soft copy, right? That's what we do. We don't print, we do soft copy, list the wedding. We do soft copy, right? Then you should know how many people to invite. Accordingly, you should book a hall. Accordingly, you should send the invite and get the RSVP. You can pick confirm, you order the food. These are happening sequentially. Then on the day of party, everything will happen in parallel. You need many people to support you and everything. One people will welcome the guests, one people will make sure food has arrived, one people will make sure the cake has arrived, one people will just go around, make sure that people are eating properly. One person will make sure that he gives the return gift. Right. So then you have the parallel people, there are multiple people, you have people, right? So similarly, some tasks are parallel, some tasks are serial in nature. So all these things are covered in the detailed execution plan, right? And you define what is a milestone. What is called a milestone? Let's say what is a milestone in human life? The birth is a milestone. So when my first baby was born, my friends, I remember his name is Priyadarshan. I'm going to send this video to him. He said it's good to have a first. Maybe I have the email also with me. He sent it to me. On when my son was born in 2001. So this is a first milestone. It's not just a milestone, but a milestone. Right? So it's very important. So you have to enjoy the first moments. Baby is born, then baby turns upside down as the first milestone, then crawls slowly, tries to sit, it tries to stand, it tries to walk, the teeth comes up, it tries to eat, it tries to bite your nails or finger, it walks, right? Then it eats food, it falls down, watches TV, plays mobile phones, starts speaking, right? And then it goes to school, it plays, it falls down. So these are various milestones, examples of various milestones. Like that projects also will have various milestones. We'll see that project milestone. I'm giving an example, right? And what is the milestone? How do you define the milestone? So when I told a baby is growing up, I told you various milestones, you know how to define. But when I said a tape out in the last class, you don't know what is a tape out. There are various milestones will be there. We'll see what are the definitions. We'll see in the subsequent classes, we'll talk about what are the various milestones, how do we define them? What are the alignments? So what is alignments? With various teams you have to work with. What is it you have to receive from them? Other teams, what you have to deliver to them. You have to align with them. What is alignment? Wheel alignment, you say in the car. What is a wheel alignment? Right? So that's extremely important to align the wheels. If it doesn't align properly, it doesn't work. Right? So that's how the alignment happens. Okay. And once you align you all the stakeholders, then you understand the ownership. You should clearly tell what is expected from the other people. If you don't tell me what I expect from you, or if I don't tell you explicitly what I expect from you, the beginning of the class I documented, you should attend this many classes, should get this many marks, you should do this, you should do this, you should do X, you should do Y. You spend 1 hour of my time, you should put 3 hours of your time. I don't know you're doing or not, but you'll have to evaluate yourself. I'll not follow up, but you have to, you don't think you have to follow up, right? So you have to do all those things, right? So I specify my expectations to you like that, right? And ownership. So extremely. So we have the volunteers, we have ownership. One person will upload the YouTube videos. One person will make sure that bunch of people will mentor you, right? So various people will do various activities. They'll own. So we don't have to follow up. I don't have time to talk to 10 people. I'll just follow up. I don't follow up. I just define the tasks. And if you have the ownership, who has to be responsible for what, and they do it. Sometimes people don't follow up. They don't do own. Then we have to follow up, right? So it happens like that because people are busy, right? So that's how it happens, right? So let's go next lecture. Then you have to get all the resources, infrastructure, planning in place. How many compute you want? How much of hard disk space you want, right? How many hardware boards you want? How many people you want? People also is a human resource, right? How many people are needed for design? How many people are needed for verification? How many people are doing for testing? But the verification and testing are very different, right? So all those things are taken care of, right? So you have to plan what is resources required, infrastructure required. I need a building, say for a project. I need to be close to the customer. I need 2 people to be, let's say my customer is Taiwan. I need 2 people to be working next to Taiwan. At the same time, sometimes they can communicate better. Whatever it is, you have to identify all the resources, infrastructures, you have to plan for that. And any gaps are there. You want something, but you don't have it. I want 100 people to work on this project, but I have only 50 or 90, I have only 90 people. So I have to tell my manager, boss, I need 90 people. I need 100 people, I have only 90 people. This is a gap. So he has to go and get it. He'll ask me 1,000 questions. Why do you need 100 people? Then I have to justify. And he cannot solve. He can give you, I can give 5 people, I cannot give you 10 people. Then we have to negotiate, right? And then he'll go to, if you really say, I have a reason, if you don't have 100 people, this project will slip by n number of days, or if you want to meet the schedule, the quality will be so and so. I can get 80% of the quality. So that is a trade-off. So you have to define very clearly with your manager, with the stakeholders. So what is the gap and what is the consequence of if you don't meet those gaps, what is the consequence? You have to define it very clearly, right? Action, then what is the action plan? Just I told you, right? How do you close the gaps? You have to negotiate with the manager to get the resources, right? And then, or you negotiate with other people, You scratch my back, I scratch your back. I'm telling as a just a joke on the fly, right? So don't mind the word. Right? So it has to happen that way. Okay, so you have to identify the actions. What are the gaps? What do you do? Take action to close the gaps. Who is the owner? What are the various actions? Right? Typically, the program manager does all those things with the engineering manager. Right? So that's part of the meeting number 2 is happening the planning phase meeting. Right? So discussed in the meeting 2, pre-meeting 2 and meeting. We spoke about meeting 1 and pre-meeting 1, right? So this is meeting 2 and pre-meeting 2. Okay. Then cost structure is defined and success criteria is defined. How much cost you need to spend? You have resources. You have building. You want certain tools. You want certain hardware boards. You want to make your chip. What is the non-recurring engineering cost? NRE. What is that? Right. You want to travel to abroad to support something. How much of travel is involved? Right. You want to hire some consultants temporarily for 2 months. You want 10 people. So your boss will say you hire only for 2 months. I cannot get a full-time employee. Wherever the gaps are there, so I'll give you $10,000. You hire people for 2 months. Hire 10 people for 2 months. Right. So those things you have to plan. Right. So all the costs are different. So you need a cost to hire the 10 people for 2 months. So you define all these things. And success criteria is extremely important to define the success. So I'm training 10 people today. 10 of you I'm training. How do you know that I have trained you well? Yeah, well, I talk to you and take feedbacks. But I know obviously you don't tell me the truth. Well, yes, sir, everything is okay. Yet Hariji, everything is okay. That's what happened last week and I did a one-on-one, right? I'm not blaming people. Focus on the solution, not on the people, not on the problem, as others say, right? So you have to measure the success criteria. So if I know, how do you know I'm training 10 people, how do you know your success? In 2 years from now or 3 years from now, you join the industry, you work with many other people. You have many colleagues coming from Harvard University or IITs or triple ITs or NIT, but you are from rural area, you go and work with them. In 1 year, your manager finds out that you are extremely different from others. You could be extremely different from others. You get promoted very fast, or you get more salary than others. It doesn't matter whatever you study. If you study from Harvard or a MIT or a Cambridge or from a Vishnu Institute of Technology or XYZ of Technology or Amrita Institute of Technology, it doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter at all. Your skills is what matters. How do you solve problems is what matters. Right? So that's how my success criteria, how I define. If you can be a better person compared to people from Harvard or IIT or a triple IT, the rural students. So that's how I measure I'm success, right? That's how I define. And I'm not looking at success, but you have to look at success also. Yes or no answer. So stakeholders, we already talked about in this particular stakeholder, the engineering management, the program management, the architects. So they are the stakeholders in this particular thing, right? And what they are various stakeholders. They are various partners, some stakeholders, right? What you deliver the execution plan. How you have to execute the project plan, what you made here, right? Detailed work break structure, top-down schedule, right? You make that schedule and you provide the execution plan. Then you get budgetary approvals. Let's say you had a cost problem, right? You go to a senior VP and tell this is the cost of making the total product. So with the meeting number 2 happens, or the program council 2, or product council 2, whatever you call. Every company has its own name. That's why I said meeting number 2 happens. The senior VPs will approve. This is the cost allocated for this particular product development. Okay, that's budgetary approvals. Then you have to maintain what is the risk and risk mitigation. You know what is the risk? We spoke about the last class, right? We spoke about what is the risk we are taking here, right? We spoke about risk analysis. Right? So what if I'm traveling to out of station this weekend on my personal work? What if the trip gets extended 2 days? Or unfortunately, because I have to meet some business, I do some business. I have to meet my mother mentees. As I told you, I'm mentoring a CEO. Right? He wants my help for 1 more day. Let's say he says, okay, can you stay? Hari, can you stay for 1 more day? Then I'll have to stay. Then I'll tell him, what happens if I don't stay? I'll have to challenge him. Then he'll tell, this is the impact if you don't stay for 1 day. Right? So that's how it happens. Then we make risk mitigation plans. So some risk happen and you cannot solve that risk. How do you mitigate that risk? What is the mitigation? I think the online class would have asked examples. You think about mitigation. So you ask questions in the class, the volunteers will answer what is the mitigation, right? Okay, I'll give an example before I just thought about. We discussed the previous classes. You cook food. We'll take a food example. So you cook food, you don't know how to cook you read a book, you cook for 5 people, but 10 people turn around. So you add some water to say rasam or sambar. The 3 more people come, you add water, then you forget to add the salt. right? You boil the thing, then you come, when you taste, you see that there is no salt, less number of salt. Then you add more salt. So they're like risk mitigation, basically, right? So that's what is a risk mitigation. Okay. That is the example, but there are several examples of risk mitigation as a product. As we move forward, we'll see, right? So I'll stop with this to keep, we'll talk about execution phase in the next video. So see you everyone, please take care. Next video, we'll talk about the phase 3, that is the execution phase. Till then, see you, bye-bye.